Welcome back to another episode of Meta Update. Sorry this wasn't able to come out on Monday. I stayed up very late after my weekend down in California, and then I took a very early flight, so I did not get a lot of sleep and was very tired yesterday. So, comes out here on Tuesday. Hope you don't hate it too much. Welcome back. My name is Joshua Joshi Howard. Today, let's talk about what happened in competitive 40k guard stuff over the past weekend. So to start, basically every event was on the new slate. At this point, I did not notice any events that were on the previous slate, but it's possible one or two of them still existed. Basically, all the big team events were on the new stuff, so that's pretty exciting. We had an overall win rate of 51.1%, which is still above average, still above that 50%. I was a little bit surprised that it has dropped as much as it did, considering we were sitting around like the 54-ish% before. So maybe the nerfs were enough. That said, Guard is still incredibly strong, and we are probably still a top 3 army. And I would be surprised if, honestly, for us to not be top 3, there would need to be more answers that people discover that make Guard a little bit tougher. Anyway, we had most of our players still ungrizzled, who were playing singles, 27 of 36. We had an uptick in recon players, especially in teams environments, which we will be talking about quite a bit today. So you're starting to see a bit more recon. So especially if you're playing on WTC events or teams events in general, you should start being ready to either consider playing it or be ready to do things about it. It is incredibly strong, arguably the only like S plus tier army left in the game. And we'll kind of see how it goes. I am going to also be making some small changes to the teams list that I include. I probably could have done this earlier, but the big thing here is the previous requirements where you need to have at least a 1600 elo. I didn't care how well you did. I'm going to continue using the minimum 1600 elo, which puts you in about the top 5% of players in singles environments. But I'm going to add another one where you need to have at least an average score of an 8 over all of the games that you play. To put it simply, there were a lot of players, not a lot, there were more than you would expect. There were several players who went to teams events this last weekend, and normally, being 1600 plus, you'd expect them to do fairly well, and they did meh to bad, and I don't feel like I need to show you guys those lists in general. Oftentimes, there are people who play other factions and are playing guard, and they didn't just like steal a list or something. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and skip those, partly to save them some face. Also, it just means less work for me because I don't need to show you their list and talk about them. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. I've talked about this several times at this point. I stand by it. I think if you are not willing to play Recon, or you don't want to, you don't have the models, whatever reason you're not playing Recon, Doombolt Guard. This, I believe, to be basically the strongest singles list in the game. We have very few bad matchups. The bad matchups that it does have are uncommon. Like, there are a couple of like weird infiltrate jails that I think are like really flippy, but even the other big ones like Necrons has a winning matchup into. Ultramarines is pretty close overall, I would say. Excuse me. So it is a very strong matchup overall, and it just relies on having waves of dudes and waves of stuff that your opponent simply cannot deal with because there's too much of it. It does too much damage, and it just plays the game incredibly well overall. I might be doing a video about this in the next week or so, but the whole idea is that it does too much damage, it's too hard to remove, and there's too much of it. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first one that we have a first place at a GT from Travis Morton, who's part of the Discord. Congratulations to Travis on getting the 5-0. It's the first one, this edition that I know of. I've seen the name pop up every now and then. But this is the first GT win that I've seen them get. So Travis was playing a Cadian Castellan, a Cadian Command Squad, 3 Sonic Command Squads, an Orc Deadog, a Rogel Dorn Commander, 20 Cadians, 10 Ketachan, 2 units of 10 Krieg, 2 Chimeras, 3 Kazarkin, 3 units of 5 Krieg Engineers, 10 Scions, 5 Scions, and 5 Scions. So this is a very normal looking 1 Dorn Doombolt. You can play it with 1 Dorn, you can play it with 2 Dorns. I believe this is almost exactly the list that I've seen Gustavo de Sousa, who was the initial pioneer in this style of guard army, who's doing well with it, has been pushing recently. I think it makes a lot of sense on WTC boards and UKTC boards. I'm not as fond of it on Games Workshop boards, but I do think it is still strong enough to do quite well. Big thing about this that you need to be aware of: one, Nork Deadhog is actually going to be usually attaching to the 10 Scions with a command squad and starting on the board. If you don't start this on the board, you are way more likely to just get run at and not have the damage on the board necessary to push your opponent back. But if you have all three of those pieces, you have enough hammers that your opponent can't really actually rush you down in the same way that some people think that they are able to do. Yeah, this is a good list. You got a lot of mortal wounds. You got a lot of 4-up save infantry. You got a lot of stuff. And the one Rogel Thorn Commander does mean that you have enough damage 3 to deal with a lot of the threats that are currently in the game. This ended up beating GSC, Custodes, Necrons, Ultramarines, and then beating Demons in the finals. So congratulations to Travis on the GT win. Moving on, we have one of my students who I've done some coaching with, Zaid de Anda, at Altos Terracapia Segundo down in Mexico. And this is a two-door Doombolt. Very normal stuff once again. Cadian Castellan, Cadian Command Squad, 3 Scion Command Squads, Nork Deadhog, 2 Rogaldorn Commanders, 20 Cadians, 2 Chimeras, 3 units of Kazarkin, 3 units of 5 Kree Engineers, 3 units of 5 Scions. So this trades a little bit of the trash that the one Durn Doombolt was played by Travis. So he has some extra Scions here. He's got the 5 extra Scions and the 10-man, and then a couple more units of dudes running around. This one trades it out for a Rogaldorn Commander. I prefer this style a little bit to one Dorn Doombolts in general, at least on Games Workshop terrain. However, they are both very successful. They play it slightly differently, but they still have the same core game plan of overwhelming people with Krieg Engineers, Kazarkin, and then when your opponents are like, haha, I've dealt with your stuff, you're like, did you forget I have 20 to 30 Scions in reserve? Oh, well, now you're dead. So Zaid ended up losing to Tyranids in the first round before beating Grey Knights, Salamanders, Dark Angels, and Tyranids for the last one, going 4-1 overall. So congratulations to Zaid. I believe this is his first 4-1 with Guard. He's done it with other armies before, but this is the first time I think he's gone a 4-1 with this army. So congratulations to Zaid. Also proves my coaching helps. Just kidding. Maybe it does. I don't know. Moving on. Going over to some team stuff, we have at 8TC, there was a large event. I don't know exactly where it was, but in the eastern United States, where they do NTL pairings. So, big thing to note is the defender picks the board, and then the attacker picks between one of 2 missions that are associated with that board. Austin ended up going 5-0 at this event. He was also playing a Doombolt, but it was a little bit different. He had just the one Dorn, but it's a Cadian Castellan, Cadian Command Squad with a Spec Ops veteran. I do not believe in this enhancement, but if you have a couple of extra points, sure, you can go ahead and throw it in. 2 Scion Command Squads, Nork Deadhog, 1 Ogryn Bodyguard, a Rogaldorn Commander, 1 unit of 20 Cadians, 1 unit of 10 Krieg, 3 Chimeras, 1 unit of 5 Rough Riders, 3 units of Kazarkin, 2 units of 5 Krieg Engineers, 1 unit of 10 Scions, 1 unit of 5, and then Lehman Russ Vanquisher. So a lot of different people have been trying to find different solutions to the fact that our Rogaldorn commanders went up 15? I think it was 15 points over the last patch. This one looks to be downgrading one of the Rogaldorn commanders into a Vanquisher and then getting some extra stuff, like an extra unit because of it. One of the big things that I would always like to see in these kinds of lists is I do think the third unit of 5 Krieg Engineers is generally going to be better than the unit of 5 Rough Riders, but honestly, it's about the same. Like, it's the list is so good that you can afford to have some of those small changes around. Big thing here between Nork Deadhog and the Ogryn Bodyguard and having the one Dorn. In general, you're going to want to put Nork with the Cadian Castellan unit. However, if you are worried that your Scions are going to get tagged, then you put Nork with the Scions because they don't have access to that fallback and shoot. Austin ended up getting big wins into Custodes, Necrons, Custodes, and then medium wins into Votan and Tau, going 5-0 overall. At the same event, we have David Purcell, who went by David Purecell at this one, going 3 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. His elo is totally fake at this point, but he was playing a 2-Dorn, 2-Brick Doombolt, 2 Cadian Castellans, 2 Cadian Command Squads, a Scion Command Squad, 2 Ogryn Bodyguards, 2 Rogaldorn Commanders, 2 units of 20 Cadians, 3 Chimeras, 3 Kazarkin, 2 Krieg Engineers, and 1 unit of 5 Scions. I know a little bit more that this was built to specifically play on layout 8, in which case I do like the second brick a little bit more. because it does let you play on that denser Games Workshop board a little bit better if you know they're going to be playing that over and over again. I don't know how many times he actually played on it, but I know that was the intent when building this list. David ended up getting a big win into World Eaters, a 0 into Ultramarines, which is very surprising. I still think, even though this is not the ideal list to play into Ultras, it shouldn't be getting blown out like that. A small win to Admech, a draw into Admech, and a big win into Custodes. Overall, going 3 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. Moving over to the West Coast, we had another big teams event, California Team Championships. This one was 40 teams of 5. And this was also played with NTL pairings in place, where the defender picks a board and the attacker picks between one of two missions. First one, we have Brandon Kading, who won AGT a while back, but has been faction hopping since then. Brandon was playing a two-door Doombolt with Kading Castellan, Kading Command Squad, 3 Sign Command Squads, Bullgryn Bodyguard, 2 Rugaldorn Commanders, 1 unit of 20 Cadians, 3 Tauroxes, 2 units of 5 Death Riders, 3 Kazarkin, and 3 units of 5 Scions. This one is like on the verge of still being Doombolt or not, but you still have most of the core pieces here. Couple of small changes are, of course, the 2 or 3 units of Krieg Engineers did become 2 units of 5 Death Riders, and then the Taurox is coming in instead of the Chimeras. So it is a little bit faster than the way that a lot of Doombolt lists do like to play. But you'd still have plenty of damage, you still have plenty of stuff, and the Kazarkin, you don't have the backup firepower of the Chimeras, but you are able to get to places a little bit better. So it is a little bit better at going to punch your opponent in the mouth than some of the Chimera builds that we are seeing. Brandon ended up getting big wins into Ultra Marines, Eldari, Space Wolves, a medium win into Guard, a medium win into Votan, and a small win into CSM. Overall, their team did very well. I think they got 4th out of 40 teams, which was a good weekend. Next, we have me. So, unfortunately, I lost a lot of ELO because I did hit an ELO decay window. Unfortunately, my last GT that I played in last weekend did not count. It ended up being considered too small. So, I ended up losing 66 points of ELO. If you care, if you think it's interesting, say something in the comments and maybe I'll send it over to StatCheck. Anyway, I was playing Two-Door Doombolt. Not a whole lot of new stuff here. Kading Castellan, Kading Command Squad, 2 Sign Command Squads, Nork Deadog, 2 Rugaldorn Commanders, 1 unit 20 Cadians, 1 unit 10 Cadians, 1 unit 10 Krieg, 2 Chimeras, 3 Kazarkin, 3 units of 5 Krieg Engineers, and 2 units of 5 Scions. If you watched my breakdown of the GT that I went to last week, the only change between the list I had last week and this one, where in order to pay for the Rugaldorn Commander increases, I dropped 1 Chimera, added 1 unit of 10 Krieg, which saved me 20 points, and then I dropped Laud Hailer, the 10-point extra range on your orders enhancement, because it didn't come up anyway. It wasn't a relevant enhancement. So overall, I traded 1 Chimera for 1 unit 10 core of Krieg. I do think it is technically stronger if you take the unit of 10 Cadians and you turn it into 10 Krieg. I think the list is technically stronger. However, the Cadians are easier to play, and the difference is so small that it doesn't matter that much. Anyway, I ended up getting a draw into Orcs before getting a medium win into Guard, a medium win into Demons, a big wins into Thousand Sons and Necrons, and a medium win into Sisters. My team overall got 6th out of 40, going 4 wins and 2 losses. So I would consider that a successful event considering some of the teams that we did lose to. Okay, going over to the UK, we have Dom Maidlow also playing a Doombolt variant, going 3 wins and 2 losses. He had a Kading Castellan, 2 Kading Command Squads, 2 Rugaldorn Commanders, 2 Sign Command Squads, 1 Bullgryn Bodyguard, which is going to be attached to the Kading Command Squad and run around as just the Toughness 6 unit, 1 unit 20 Cadians, 3 Chimeras, 3 units of Kazarkin, 3 units of 5 Krieg Engineers, 2 units of 5 Scions. So this is very similar to the list that I just showed you. Couple changes. 1, he saved 20 points by turning Nork into just a normal Bullgryn Bodyguard, and then he kept in the 3rd Chimera, and in exchange put in a Kading Command Squad for the 10 Krieg that I put into my list. Otherwise, very, very similar stuff, going 3 wins, 2 losses, but this is a little bit surprising to me, because he got a 20-0 into Guard, a 1 into Necrons, a 20 into Death Guard, a 0 into Tau, and an 18 into Imperial Knights. Very, very swingy. I obviously don't know what the context for this was. I don't know if this was on WTC or UKTC or what, but this list should never be getting, kind of in general, Dom Maidlow and David Purcell, like variations on Doombolt should never be getting zeros. Um, we're just it's just too good at playing the game. So very surprised that those did end up happening. I would guess that these players got push calls at some point, and then just the push went wrong and they got run over. That would be my guess. But anyway, Doombolt very very strong in singles, very very good in teams, just a very good army in general. Okay, moving on, we got 2 Dorns and 2+ Vanquisher lists. Again, these generally play, you either go with like a couple of transports with Kazarkin, or a bunch of horses and some other, cheap trash that is going to run around, force your opponent to come out into the open, and then you shoot them with your 4 or 5 tanks. It's a very successful strategy. It's been working for a long time. First one, we have Cullen Burns going 4-1 at Ides of March with a Cadian command squad, a Commissar without the enhancement, just a 30-point dude, Lord Solar, 2 Sign command squads, 1 unit of 10 Cadians, 1 unit of 10 Rough Riders, 3 units of Kazarkin, 2 units of 10 Signs, 2 Luminous Vanquishers, and 2 Rogaldorn battle tanks. I think this list is okay. Big thing when I look at this list is you have like a bunch of hammers, right? You have 1 hammer, 2 hammer. These are kind of hammers. And then you have the Scion hammer and then a second Scion hammer. So you have like 6 hammers, like at least 4 between the Dorns and the Scions. But my problem with this is it's a really big stat check, right? Not every army can deal with this much armor, and then not every army can deal with this much firepower coming out of the Scions. My worry is that you only have 4 other things, which makes holding primary a bit of an issue sometimes. So you are really reliant on going to go kill your opponent, which can be tough if one, they're faster than you, or you're playing on a mission where you can't stop them from doing things, because a lot of this is not slow, but not necessarily fast enough to get to a lot of places it needs to go. Um, but either way, this ends up working. I think if I was going to play these units of 10 Scions, I would try and turn these into like Krieg Engineers, more horses, like split every one of these Kazakhin units into like 2 units of things, just run around the board. Anyway, he got big wins into Emperor's Children and Tyranids, losing to World Eaters before getting a massive win into Iron Hands and a medium win into Tau. So well done to Colin. I've seen your name pop up before. Welcome back to the videos. Moving back over to some team stuff, we have Jeffrey Kolodner, who I believe was a Sisters player primarily, but has been dabbling in Guard over the past couple of months. Going 4-1 at 8TC, again in the Eastern United States. This is definitely a bit of a homebrew list, but let's go ahead and go through it. It's Cadian Command Squad with Lord Solar and 10 Cadians, 1 Chimera, 1 Taurox, 2 units of 5 Rough Riders, 2 units of 5 Death Riders, 1 unit of Kazarkin, 2 units of 5 Krieg Engineers, 1 unit of 5 Rattlings, 1 unit of Aquilons, 2 Luminous Vanquishers, and 2 Rogaldorn battle tanks. So you still have the core of this style of list. You have Vanquishers, Dorns, you have a bunch of horses, you have some more cheap things. The big things that I find very interesting are obviously the Aquilons. I don't really care for Aquilons in general in this detachment because it's really hard for them to benefit from any of the things that the detachment does. Basically, the only stratagem you can really do on them is the ignores cover one. So it has to just be like you think Aquilons are just good enough on their own. And they're like, okay. But because they're almost never going to be ordered. You would have to snap to it to order them in general. So, they're an interesting little threat to have. And the other big thing here is these 2 units of 5 Krieg Engineers. I'm assuming, well, one of them has to go into the Taurox, and I'm assuming oftentimes you're going to spend both of them in the Taurox. So you can kind of cycle them out of the Taurox, get that little bit of bonus movement, and then get to where they're trying to go. Overall, though, I forgot to update this, so I don't know how he did. But this is accurate, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember how he did, but Jeffrey going 4-1 at ATC, still good stuff. I think the list is a little bit homebrew, but it makes a lot of sense overall. I think this is the only real place where I'd be like, this could probably have been something else, but still works out, still does a lot of stuff. Next, we're going to Dorns, Bullgryns, and Vanquishers. Oh my. I have described this in the past, and I stand by it. I think this is the best 4-in-1 style of list you can play. My problems with this in general, and why I don't think it's as strong of a singles list as Doombolt or Dorns and Vanquishers, is it's just too brittle. It is a big stat check. You ask your opponent, can you deal with all of these Bullgryns? Can you deal with all of my armor? And if they can, if they can't, which most armies can't, great. You're going to get usually small wins a lot of the time. The problem is it doesn't have a fallback plan. If your opponent can deal with it, you just kind of lose, and there's not a ton of extra play that you have in the army in order to help you react to when you swing bad. Like if every Vanquisher misses, or if you roll low on your shot counts for your Rogaldorans and you just don't kill the things that you need to, you end up like it just kind of collapses, which is why I don't generally think that these are the best singles list. However, if you are just trying to get consistent results, if you're trying to go 3-2-4-1, these lists are great for people to copy. The first one we have is Zan Pakar from, I believe this is Slovenia at the Amona Open, going 4-1. He's got a Kading Commissar, or a Kading Command Squad, Commissar with Adpum Detail, 2 Rogaldorn Commanders, 10 Cadians, 2 Toraxes, 2 units of 5 Rough Riders, 2 units of 6 Bullgryn, 2 units of Kazarkin, 2 Lemur Vanquishers, and a Scout Sentinel. So, kind of the big thing here, right, is these end up going in these, and they're going to go kill something. And then you just don't have, like, the number of things to kind of go stand out in the middle. And kind of looking at what he does, he like beats Death Guard. Makes sense. They can't really deal with this. Necron's a very close game, which also kind of makes sense. I really don't like Bullgryn into the Catan because the Nightbringer can very reasonably kill like 3 Bullgryn in an activation, and then you can mortal wounds a fourth one to death. So they'll oftentimes fight their way out relatively quickly. Small win into Eldar, decent win into World Leaders, and then a narrow loss here into Custodes. And this is definitely a situation where Custodes really struggle to deal with the Bullgryn. However, if they just make all their 4-up invuls, you lose. So not a whole lot of subtlety there. You don't have a lot of extra tools that you have in order to like get you over that hump if things start going backwards. Moving on to, I believe this is the Southern United States, we have Dan Sammons getting 3rd place overall at Free State GT. Kading Command Squad, Commissar with Adpum Detail, Gans goes 2 Rogaldorn Commanders, 10 Cadians, 10 Catachan, 1 of 10 Rough Riders, 2 units of 6 Bullgryn, 2 units of 5 Death Riders, 3 Vanquishers, and a Scout Sentinel. So again, you have like hammer, these are kind of hammers. And then you only really have like 1, 2, 3 things to kind of play the rest of the game with. Gonskos helps like be in multiple places at once. Or I guess 4 things. But it ends up becoming an issue. Ah, man, I forgot to update this guy's stuff here too. Oh well, sorry, Dan. Dan ended up going 4-1 at this event, but again, same thing. It's very brittle. If things start to break, there's not really ways to fix them, which is why I don't like this style of list as well in general. The archetype is good if you want to play it again, but it's generally going to be a 3-2-4-1 list. It's usually not going to be the thing that wins the event as often. Moving over, more team stuff. We have Andreas Hoffman going 4-1 at 8TC. Kading Command Squad, Commissar with Adpum Detail, Guns Goes, Lord Solar, 10 Cadians, 10 Catachan, 2 Chimeras, 2 into 5 Rough Riders, only 6 Bullgryn, 2 into Kazarkin, 2 Lemur Vanquishers, and 2 Rogaldorn Battle Tanks. So yeah, again, doing rather well. A medium win into Votan, a 0 into GSC. This one actually makes a lot of sense to me. I don't remember what version of GSC it was, but GSC is like, I don't know what the opposite of brittle is. Somebody who does like metalworking or something. Malleable? Is malleable the term that I'm looking for? GSC does a lot of bending, but not a lot of breaking. And so against an army like this one that is very brittle and cannot bend at all, GSC can be a massive problem for this type of army. Anyway, getting a draw into Sisters, a big win to Admech, and a medium loss into Drukari. So well done to Andreas, and moving on. Moving over to Spain at the second GT Zaragoza, we have Roger Boyra, consistently top player over in Spain, playing almost a Spanish special, but not quite. Kading Command Squad, Commissar with Adpum Detail, Gonskos, Lord Solar, 10 Cadians, 1 Taurox, 10 Rough Riders, 5 Rough Riders, 6 Bullgryn, 5 Death Riders, 1 Kazarkin, a Basilisk, 2 Lemurous Vanquishers, and 2 Rogaldorn Battle Tanks. So obviously, it starts pulling into Spanish Special a little bit with this one Basilisk. However, in my opinion, in order to be the Spanish Special, you need at least one more indirect piece, typically artillery teams. Roger ended up getting a medium loss into Imperial Knights, which is a little bit surprising. But of course, this doesn't really contribute to the game plan into Imperial Knights super well. It doesn't really do a lot. And your damage is good into them with Rough Riders, but it is still swingy. It is very easy to not do very much if you just roll bad on your damage. Same thing here. If they make their invul saves, sometimes you just don't do any damage. Big win into Blood Angels, small win into Grey Knights, medium win to Admech, and this one is also very surprising. I do remember reading that had a Fulgrim in it, and only 1 unit of Noise Marines instead of the typical 3. So this is rather surprising. I do expect there's probably on WTC terrain, which does mean that Emperor's Children can close with you, but Emperor's Children can't kill this, they can't kill this, they can't kill this, they can't kill this, they can't kill this. So I imagine that they killed, like, this stuff, and then kind of hit on objectives, and there's not a whole lot that Roger was able to do to them. Anyway, moving on. I don't think there are any of those. Yeah, okay. Moving into funny tank piles. These are lists that are mostly tanks. They are very much about knowing how to use tanks as midboard pieces, how to use them to move up the board, charge into things, lock them down, and then be, haha, I'm toughness 11, 2-up save, and 13 wounds. Can you deal with that? And a lot of the time, the answer is no. So to start off with, Adeptus Bastardes, number 2 over in Norway. I think it's Norway, not Sweden. I'm pretty sure it's Norway. We have Sebastian Magnuson, who has popped up a couple of times, playing a funny tank pile. He's got 2 Silent Command Squads, 3 Rogaldorn Commanders, one of which has Aquilin Eye, 1 Engine Seer, 10 Cadians, 2 units of 5 Scions, 2 Hellhounds, and then 3 Lehman Rush Vanquishers. So this is a pretty cute combo, of course, the Aquilin Eye with the Hellhound, turning them to AP3 on the main gun and AP2 on the Heavy Flamer, does mean that these actually punch harder than you might expect. I think because you are taking it, I don't know if it's worth it, but it's like when you have tank, 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 that is 5 plus 3 is 8 tanks that not a lot of armies can deal with. And if you understand that you can use the Hellhound, this can go stand on an objective, this can go stand on an objective, and then these are going to go stand on an objective the turn afterwards, and then these and these are going to be like, haha, you happened to contest me standing on objectives, now you shall die. Ends up being quite good. I do know that this event was played on GW boards because Sebastian's list name said so. He ended up beating Blood Angels, Black Templars, Tyranids, and getting a loss into Necrons. This army can't kill tanks. This army can't kill tanks. This army struggles to kill tanks. This army, depending on what version of Black Templars it was, maybe can kill tanks. This army maybe doesn't die to tanks, which is one of the big ways that you can beat this kind of thing. Moving on, we had a lot of Recon. There's a lot of Recon this weekend, guys. A lot of Recon. I got 4 Recon lists to show you. I've put a couple of lists up, or a couple of videos up about Recon, how to play it, what to do with it. I've got several interviews with Wesley St. Hines. If you are interested in going back and watching those, I would strongly recommend that. I will be switching over to Recon here pretty soon, is my plan, in order to get ready for a couple of Teams events in the next couple of months. Anyway, before I get too far, I could tell you that these lists are different, but the core thing is they mostly still do the same thing. Here's a lot of bodies. They're really difficult to remove. They are a lot of OC. Oh, you weren't able to remove them? You lose because you didn't stand on primary at all. So, at the same event, Adeptus Bastardes, we have Shetel Andre Lickness going 4 wins and 1 loss. He's got 2 Cadian Castellans, 3 Cadian Command Squads, Ursula Creed, Commissar, Gaunt's Ghost, 2 Ugram Bodyguards, 3 units of 20 Cadians, 1 unit of 20 Catachan, 5 units of 10 Corps of Krieg, 2 units of 10 Rough Riders, 1 unit of 5 Death Riders, 3 units of 5 Krieg Engineers, 1 unit of Ratlings, and a Scout Sentinel. The Ratlings are interesting. You don't oftentimes see them pop up in Nemo's lists, but they do help protect like some part of the board. The Krieg Engineers do make a couple of matchups a lot easier because they do help you take down a couple of big things, especially some more mobile ones like into something like Mortarion or into like Magnus or who else? It's a little bit better into Necrons. Definitely makes the Knights matchup easier, but the Knights matchup is already generally pretty good. Shetel got big wins into Thousand Suns, Ultras, and Tyranids before getting a medium loss into Chaos Knights. This is definitely a matchup where if you don't know the matchup, if you're not well practiced in it, this is one where it would not surprise me if you lost it the first couple of times you played it before getting another big win into Eldar, going 4-1 overall. Moving over to 8TC, we have the man himself, Wesley St. Hines, aka Nemo the Fish. He was playing a triple Castellan version with 3 Cadian command squads, 4 into 20 Cadians, Ursula Creed, Gaunt's Ghost, 3 bodyguards. I'm assuming they go, I mean, they obviously go with the Cadian command squads, so I guess one of them is with Ursula Creed. 20 Catachan, 4 units of 10 Krieg, which is a decent surprise to me. He's been playing like 5 units of 10 Krieg for quite a while. He's got only 10 Rough Riders, 5 Death Riders, 3 units of 5 Krieg Engineers, 1 unit of Rattlings, and a Sentinel. And he got 20s into everything he played. Thousand Suns, Necrons, Death Guard, Admech, and Custodes. Moving to Down Under, I believe Pernas Kupris is Australian, I think. This was a 2 Castellan version, so 2 Castellans, 3 Cadian command squads, Gaunt's Ghost, Ursula Creed, no Ogren bodyguards, 1, 2, 3 units of Cadians, 1 unit of 10 Cadians, which I guess just stands at home, 3 units of 10 Catachan, so this is an older style that Wesley used to play, the 20 Krieg, 5 units of 10 Krieg, 10 Rough Riders, 10 Rough Riders, mortars. I mean, they are Catachan mortars instead of being Cadian mortars, but this does not contribute to the game plan. Does not contribute. 5 Death Riders and a Scout Sentinel. So I think honestly it's probably fine, but like this could have been half a dozen other things, and it would have been a bit better. Anyway, so Pernas ended up getting draw, and a draw into Sisters before getting a big win into Chaos Knights and a medium loss into Admech. To me, this does say, one, because I don't think I've seen Pernas's name pop up before, but also seeing these draws, so many draws with Recon, I'm a bit surprised. I'm guessing this is something that they don't have a ton of reps on before hopping over to this, because this one maybe is drawish, but they really just like struggle to kill. This one, unless it's like Gaunt Carpet, also struggles to kill. And this one also just struggles to kill. Like a lot of these armies just can't kill Recon. So I'm a little bit surprised. Probably could have done a little bit better, but that's what happens when you're playing a difficult army. Next we have Pepe Andrew over in. Man, I made a lot of mistakes. Over in Spain, again at the second GT Zaragoza, where they actually went 4 wins and 1 draw. A double Castellan version with 3 Cadians command squads, Gaunt's Ghost, 1 Scion command squad, 2 Ogren bodyguards, Ursula Creed, 3 units of Cadians, 20 Catachan, 4 units of 10 Krieg, 10 Rough Riders, 5 Death Riders, 3 units of 5 Krieg Engineers. And this is a little bit interesting. We have seen Wesley play Scions in the past, but when he has done it, it has been a Scion command squad plus 10 Scions, which has a little bit more firepower, and it costs like, it's similar in price to the Cadian Castellan and 20 Cadians. But this ends up getting a bunch of bigger wins. Decent sized wins into Death Guard and Tau, a 20 into Tau, 18 into Death Watch, and a 10-10 into Admech, which is another list that might be a little bit difficult the first time you do try to play it. Okay, then the rest, we got a couple more lists that are kind of their own things. We have Nick Gigello winning the 12th Berry Bash. This is the event that Scary runs over near Toronto, Canada. I don't know if it's in Toronto, but in that part of the world. It is Nick Gigello, the guy who played a lot of Hammer to a lot of success previously. Cadian Command Squads, Lord Solar, Scion Command Squad, 10 Cadians, 10 Catachan, 1 Chimera, 1 Torox, 1 unit 10 Rough Riders, 1 unit of 5 Rough Riders, 1 unit of 5 Death Riders, 3 units of 5 Kazarkin, Krieg Engineers, 5 Scions, 1 Leonard's Vanquisher, and 2 Robothorn Battle Tanks. So this is much more reminiscent of things that we were playing in Combined, where you had like 2, maybe 3 tanks down here, and then you would fill the midboard with cheap stuff. and be like, I am going to fight you. My cheap stuff is better than your cheap stuff, and I am going to win because of that. And then if you try and fight me, I will shoot you with the Dorns. So ends up being really good stuff. Ends up beating Necrons, Sisters, Grey Knights, Necrons, Space Wolves, and GSC in the finals. So congratulations to Nick Gigello, one of the best guard players in Canada, consistently doing quite well and winning the 12th Berry Bash. Going over to the Colorado Cup, in what do you know, Colorado, United States, we have Lane Nussbaum, who's been having a bit of a resurgence in the GT scene recently, going 5-1 overall with combined arms. He's been back on combined. He just really likes reinforcements and the lethal hits. The lethal hits are very good into a lot of Catan right now. They do improve your damage quite a bit. And so when you have, it basically requires about half less of a Rogel Dorn in order to kill a Catan. Whereas in Grizzled, you need like 2 Dorns to consistent, or like to get like a 50% chance to kill a Catan. Um, in combined arms, you're more consistently going to do it because they both have lethal hits instead of just one of them in Grizzle Company. Anyway, this is very similar to some lists we've seen Lane play in the past. It's a Caden Command Squad with Grand Strategist, 1 Rogel Dorn Commander with Death Mask, a 2nd Rogel Dorn Commander, 2 units of 10 Cadians, 2 units of 10 Catachan, 2 units of 6 Bullgryn. Yes, you can still play these in combined arms. They might be better in Grizzle Company because they do it's like 40% more damage, I think. I think it's 40% off the top of my head. 5 Rattlings, 1 Lemur's Exterminator, 1 Rogaldorn Battle Tank, and 3 Scout Sentinels. So these people are kind of remembering are just good. Just good. Also helps solve a lot of matchups. Anyway, Lane up losing round 1 to Space Wolves before beating Sisters, World Eaters, Death Guard, and Thousand Suns, going 5-1 overall. Back over to the California Team Championships, we have Andrew Dickinger. Last time, Andrew showed up winning I think it was the Dice Hammer GT, something down in Orange County. I said he had a bunch of rules issues, but I talked to one of his opponents at this most recent event that I was also at, and he said a lot of the rules issues have been cleaned up. So wanted to give Andrew big props for that, for taking it to heart and making sure that everything is clean, and yeah, making sure we read the rules. Good stuff. Andrew ended up playing a Canadian Command Squad, a 2nd Canadian Command Squad, Commissar with Abhuman Detail, Gaunt's Ghost, a Silent Command Squad with Aquilin Eye for that +1 AP, a 2nd Silent Command Squad, a 3rd Silent Command Squad, Nork Deadog, 2 Primaris Psychers, 1 unit of 10 Cadians, 2 Torox Primes. So again, these give you that full hit rerolls. 2 units of 5 Rough Riders, 2 units of 6 Bullgryn, 2 units of Kazarkin, 2 units of 5 Scions, and 1 unit of 10 Scions. So a couple of big things here that are a little bit interesting. Of course, you have the 2 Torox Primes with the Scion Command Squads. One of them might have the Aquilin Eye, 2 Primaris Psychers, and then 2 units of 5 Scions. These, again, I think it's 95, 60 for the Psyker, 85 for the Command Squad, and 70 for 5 dudes. Gives you 0, carry the 1, 100, 160, 240. I think this is 310 points overall. But it will come out, and if something's on objective, it will just kill basically whatever it is on the objective. There's very little you shoot it. I mean, even if you're shooting it like a Catan, this is going to do serious damage to everything in the game. If not right, just like outright delete it. It's just a lot of points, and that's the big thing. But if you do surprise people, you will just do tons of damage to anything. The really interesting thing to me that I'm not overly fond of is the Caden Command Squad with Nork Deadog, because Nork Deadog does not fit in a Torox Prime because he takes up extra slots. He's too big. It crowds out everybody else in the Prime. And then the Caden Command Squad with Nork Deadog, I've done a lot of videos about the Caden Command Squad and the Ogryn Bodyguard, but one of the main things that makes this more durable is the fact that the OBG has a 4-up invul. Right, so you end up taking some saves on the 4-up Feel No Pain of the Commander, and then after that you can take some 4-up invul saves on the Ogryn Bodyguard, but because Nork doesn't have an invul, and also costs 20 points more, like the main job of the unit is to like stand in one place. It doesn't actually do that much damage. Nork helps out a little bit, but he's kind of annoying to order because the only way you can order them is with the commissar. It's not very fast because you can't order them move, 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 and it's mostly just supposed to stand places. So the loss of durability here and the plus 20 points being spent on it is, I'm not overly fond of that. I think this would have been better with just like an Ogre bodyguard, and we find somewhere else, something else to do with the 20 points. But ends up working out rather well. Andrew ends up getting a decent win into guard. This was, I also played this guy. A small win into Death Guard, two 20s into Votan, a small win to Emperor's Children, and then and then a draw into Ultramarines at the end. Overall, we had a lot of players this weekend. I don't remember exactly how many lists I just showed you off the top of my head, but it was a lot. We had several big teams events with lots of guard players doing rather well. If you're interested in seeing more, I will be putting out a video in the next couple of days about my experiences at the California Team Championships. There will be a little bit of drama involved in that one, so we'll see how much of it I decide to get into there. But if you're also interested in coaching, because I did have at least one player, where is he? Zaid. There he is. Um, you know, I've been working with Zaid a fair amount. Recently went 4-1. If you're also interested in working with me for coaching stuff, let me know. The best way to get a hold of me is, of course, in the Discord. If you're interested in talking to many of these players that you see in these weekly recaps, again, reach out. Not on YouTube. I will not check the comments. I will not be responding to comments about the Discord on YouTube. Send me an email or on Discord or on Reddit. I don't check Reddit as often these days, but if you send it email or Discord, I can go ahead and send you a link. For now, though, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.